everyone, welcome to The Point. In this video, we'll discuss in detail about how the money flows between the various sectors of an economy. For this, first we'll see what is the flow of income. So here it is. It represents how the money in the economy flows between the various sectors of economy by the way of factor payments, payments for goods and services, income and expenditure, import and export. So now, in order for an economy to sustain, the flow of income is very crucial. Also, when all these factors are total, the result is nation's GDP or the national income. The concept of GDP we will take up in the upcoming videos. So, moving on to the first model, which is circular flow of income in two-sector economy. So now, here we see that there are only two sectors in the economy. The first one is the household sector and the other one is the firms. So, household sectors provide various services in the form of land, labor and capital, which in short is termed as factor services, and in return for the services which the households have provided to the firms, they get factor income. So for the land, they get rent, for labor, they get wages, and for the capital, they get interest. Now, if you see, the household have got income in their hand, and now in this model, it is assumed that all the income which the households have got, they don't save anything out of it, and all the income that they earn is spent on buying goods and services. That is here. All the income that the household earn is spent on buying goods and services from the firms, and in return, what do the firms get? Money for sales, which forms the expenditure from the households. So this is the very basic model of how money flows in the economy, where there are only two sectors. First is the household and the firms. Household provides services to the firms and in return get factor income, and all the money which the households earn is spent by them in buying goods and services, and by which the firms earns revenue, and that money is again used by the firms to make the payment for factor services provided by the household. So it keeps on flowing between the two sectors of the economy, that is the household and the firms. Now here you can read whatever I have explained in the previous slide. And now moving on to the next model, which is circular flow of income in two-sector economy with financial market. So previously we have studied that there are only two sectors in an economy. The first one is the household sector and the other one is the firm sector. Now the other sector which is introduced is the capital market. Now what happens is, in this model we assume that whatever the income the households are getting as factor services, households are setting aside some amount out of that income and depositing it in the banks. Now what banks are doing out of that money is that they are creating loans out of it, and the loans that they are creating is given to the firms or the factories in order so that they can expand their business. Now you must be thinking, what do banks get in return for creating or giving loans to the firm sectors? So the banks get interest on the loans which they have given to the factories. Now this is the flow, that the interest flow from the firm sector to the banks. Also, some part of the interest which the bank has earned is given to the households, like this, for the money which they have deposited with the banks. So everything remaining the same, that is how the money flowed between the two sectors as we understood in the previous slides. The only additional factor is the capital market, which is channelizing the savings of the household sectors and creating loans out of it and giving it to the firm sector. I hope this is clear, and now let's move on to the next model, which is circular flow of income in three-sector economy. As we can see, a new sector has been added in this model, which is the government. Now the role of the government is that it collect taxes from the households and the firms, and in return provide them with the transfer payments in the form of pensions and scholarship to the households, pension and scholarships to the household, and subsidies to the corporate firms. Rest everything remains the same as we have studied in the previous slide, where the households are there giving factor service to the firm, in return getting factor income. All the money earned as or received as factor services is being spent on goods and services, and the firms making sales and revenue out of it. The only change is that the government sector is present now, which charges taxes from both the households and the firms, and by the taxes which they have collected, they channelize it in the way of transfer payments, that is scholarship and pension to households and subsidies to the firms. Here you can read whatever I have explained. I'll just read it out for you. In this model, in addition to the households and the firms, additional sector is government. It collects taxes from the household and the corporates, and in turn provide them with the transfer payments, which I have already explained it to you. That is pension and scholarship to the household and subsidies to the firm. Now moving on to the next model is the circular flow of income in the four sector economy. So now here there are four sectors: household and firms we have already studied, and also the government we have studied. The new sector is the foreign sector. Now hereby the foreign sector means the external sector. So you see, no country can survive in isolation. It has to depend on some other country by some way or the other for some products, as all the natural resources are not available in one country itself. So some of the products which are available in one country in abundance can be sent to the other country as export, and similarly whatever we are lacking we can import from the other country. So here, as explained earlier, household is there, firms is there, the same factor services, factor income earned is spent as expenditure, you receive goods and services in return to it. Then there is taxation charged by the government. Here's the tax from both the households and the firms. In return the government provides what is scholarship, pensions and subsidies. Now the new sector which has been added over here is the foreign sector. And what do we do with it is the firms in the country export to the other world, and also at the same time we import from them as well. We can just go through this. Okay, so in this model there are four sectors: household, firms, government, and the most important one is the external sector. As I've already explained you, no country can survive in isolation and has to conduct trade with other countries of the world. So that is why the exchanges happen. And whenever we read any sort of model, we have to make certain assumptions, and in this model the assumption is that there is only the business firms of the country which deals with the foreign countries. We have to make this assumption because there are lot many players or sectors in the market which deals with the outside world. For example, there is government. Government has a lot to do with the exchange of money with the other countries and the multinational institutes like World Bank, IMF. If we keep on adding all of them, then it would be very difficult for us to understand how the money rotates in the country. So that is why, to make it simple and to comprehend in a better way, we assume certain things, and the assumption over here is that it's just the business firms that deals with the import and export, and no other sector deals with it. I really hope that by now you must have got some idea about how the income flows in the country and outside the country. That is all for today's video. Thank you so much.